Hey, hope everyone's doing good today. Well, the plan is coming together. That's right. Bill Gates was on ABC News, and she goes to say there's a lot of heroes. Well, no, I don't think it's Bill at all. But let's watch a few highlights of the show, shall we?
This will be seared in the memory of this generation, hopefully enough to invest, to be more ready next time, hopefully to invest more in all these infectious diseases that are still a huge problem. But it's almost at the level of a world war, I would say, and including the need to cooperate.
Then say that this has been the biggest challenge of our lifetime?
Yes, since World War II, this is the biggest global challenge that we've all faced, even bigger than the financial crises that have come along.
Billionaire Bill Gates hasn't just been outspoken about the pandemic. He's put his money where his mouth is. Just today, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announced a new $250 million commitment, bringing their total investment to $1.75 billion to combat COVID-19.
And most of us who have been following Bill realize he has been talking about this for years. But just look, he is a part of the Agenda 2030, and if you don't understand that, you need to start looking.
I'm really pleased the companies have stepped up. The plan is coming together to get this vaccine out. The plan is coming together to get this vaccine out. So, it's a tragedy, but there's a lot of heroes.
The Microsoft 2015, you gave more than $50 million to CureVac, which is really focused on this messenger RNA technology. How is that so different? And why did you see it back then, 5 years ago, that it could be such a transformative technology?
These mRNA vaccines will be among the vaccines that help end the pandemic. We've been investing in them for quite some time because they will eventually be very cheap, and you can have a factory that even once you want a new disease, you only have to change a tiny little bit of that factory to have it make a vaccine.
He's been investing in the m-RNA. Look at what it means, okay? Right there on the screen.
There are moments in time that really people might credit with changing the trajectory of mankind, of humankind, landing on the moon, perhaps.
That's one small step for man.
This changed the trajectory of mankind. Oh man, this is too funny.
Absolutely. I compare it to a world war where we had to change how we behave. We had to take huge economic pain in order to avert the many millions of deaths that if we had just continued on would have taken place.
So Bill is going to compare this to the World War. We had to change how we behaved. And look at the photos they show us. Just look. TCL, I see, Hard Rock, Mulan, who's apparently a gender-confused young lady. I don't know anything about it, but then they show us this shot, and Goya. I am a Goy, I'll admit to that, but I am more than that to God, thank goodness. And he says we had to take that huge economic pain. Really, did we? In order to avert the many millions of deaths. Notice the one emergency car they happen to take a video of. That if we would have just continued on, would have taken place. So many lives would have passed away. Are we talking about the baby boomers who are right now at the verge of passing away? Anyway, let's continue watching.
A large portion of his donations have gone toward vaccine development and distribution to help ensure the vaccine is delivered to all corners of the planet as quickly as possible.
Well, there are many countries that have no vaccine factories at all, and it doesn't make any sense that their citizens wouldn't get any protection. After all, we want to end the disease everywhere, so we're not constantly having these reinfections. And if anyone cares about equity, they should not want the vaccines only to go to the rich people or the rich countries.
Yep, they want his V delivered to all corners of the planet. Notice that, again, the video they're using. Okay, I don't know, was this a coincidence of this car coming down? Kind of looks like, I don't know, butterfly, almost could be the David Star on it, could be so many things. And then the stone there. I just thought of right away the Third Temple thing they had, the practice run. I don't know, so many things went through my head when I just saw that. And they have the COVAX agreement, and most countries are affiliated with that. So I don't even know why they're saying this, because they just want all people to feel like we need it. and let's go on.
Executive order signed by President Trump this week says that the U.S. will only share vaccine doses after there's enough for all Americans who choose to be vaccinated.
At least as we get into the Biden administration, the fact that we care about other people, I think that will reemerge as a priority, because the U.S. has always been the leader in these health issues, HIV, malaria. The U.S. government and our foundation are always the two biggest funders of these infectious diseases.
Just got to keep that battle going. It's Trump versus Biden, the left versus the right. Come on, people. Please understand that they're both on the same side here if you don't already realize that. Oy.
People who are concerned about taking the vaccine, what would you say to them to kind of allay their fears?
You know, medicines have to be tested in trials, and there are sometimes rare side effects. The net benefit of this, if you look at the data from these high-quality regulators, is very high. And so I hope people will be rational about that and listen. You know, if you're in a multi-generational household, if you work at a school or a nursing home or a prison, you really owe it to the people there that you're not transmitting to them. At a school or a nursing home or a prison, you really owe it.
So what do you think the point was for him to mention the prison? Yeah, most of us do understand. We're going to end up there.
Hopefully the time frame in which the whole world has kind of moved beyond coronavirus.
Yeah, the progress in the rich countries will be pretty dramatic even by summer of 2021. But for the entire world, it'll probably be out sometime in 2022 before we really get the coverage levels that we need to drop the numbers to be either tiny or zero.
So Pfizer and Moderna, a little more expensive, but don't worry, there are others, 6 altogether, and they'll have them probably by spring. And by 2021, hopefully most developing countries will have this, but maybe by 2022 we'll get to zero.
Gates is now hopeful that other members of the billionaire club will step up to help.
I always think we could do more. You know, we should give more, give smarter, and we have a group called the Giving Pledge that brings people together. You know, I hope in the future.
Well, interesting, though, that he says that their foundation and the U.S. government are the only funders of infectious diseases. Interesting. And if that is true, makes you wonder why. And Billionaires Club, yeah, I wonder why they're even mentioning that, because, well, I have my thoughts, and that brings me to the Georgia Guidestones, because they have to get that number to where they'd like it, and that's exactly the reason why they're doing this, right? But I won't go into that. You should look into the 7 Noahide laws if you are unaware of those. But we know who the billionaires are, right? Or at least they kind of tell us in some magazines. But don't be mistaken. They don't mention ever the real, actual billionaires in this world, because they are never mentioned. Oops, sorry about that. They are the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Yeah. They own major stakes in world banks and pretty much only 3 countries that they are excluded out of. So wrap your mind again around that. And he's won many Legion Honor Awards, by the way. Many. So here's just a couple of them that I caught pictures of, and just to point out that Macron also has these as well. The insignia of the Grand Cross and next to King Philip. It was really hard to make out what they were, but I believe those are them. So, well, this has gone long enough, so almost as long as his video, and I'll add the link, of course. But let's just take it home and ask him where he has his hope, where he puts his hope in.
Even before we conquer COVID, Gates is already talking about combating the next global disease outbreak. You say next time we'll be able to do it a lot faster. What will be the difference next time?
We'll have gigantic m-RNA factories, and we'll be able to do m-RNA at under $2 and no cold chain requirement.
In the midst of all of the darkness and despair, what gives you the most hope right now?
Just the way people have come together on this, you know, science, caring about other people. I'm very hopeful that the way we get out of this disaster sets a model for innovation and cooperation.
So she goes on to say, what will be the difference next time? So there is going to be a next time. You do realize that, right? So this is not the first or the last, and nothing is for free. Remember that. When they start saying that Moderna or one of these companies, it's going to be so cheap. No, when they say go left, you go right, and always test everything. And the way people have come together, science and caring about other people, What you talking about, Willis? That's what came to my mind, because with all this social distancing and not even being able to go see the elderly, your parents who are in these elderly homes, and people wearing these things all over, not those who have to for work, but for everybody else, honestly, you can tell that they are under a spell. They're under mind control because they're trusting the government so much and not researching for themselves. Look, I'll add the link so you can watch this in its entirety, but all I can say is trust God and fear God more than man, because He's the only one who's promised to never leave us or forsake us, and He will never let you down. All right, that's my take on him, but so many hot spots in that one. Goodness gracious, prison and everything else he mentions. I'm sure you'll let me know what you heard as well or saw. God bless, take care, and have a great weekend.